Oh, we're live. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. This is Loser Lee's Wrestling, Roy.
Yeah, 35.
The 35. This is 35?
This is the 35th anniversary of the Weekly Wrestle.
Wow. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is Loser Lee's Wrestling. My name is Red Jefferson. I'm here with Roy Hammerson. Hammer, how are we doing?
Fine. Ready to rock. And or roll.
I'm liking this energy we have today.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's loopy. It's loopy.
We got a list. We got a top 10 list coming up.
We have a top 10 list coming up. I'm so excited about that. Thank you all so much for joining us. This is the Weekly Wrestle where we talk about wrestling. But we also talk a little bit about Rampage. Anything to discuss before we get to Rampage, Roy?
Rampage,
anything?
Big fart in church, but that's fine.
Yeah, it was a fart in church. It was really kissing your sister. That's another one.
It just continues to be a show that I'm not motivated to watch because a bunch of nothing happens.
Yeah, flatter than a plate of piss. Flatter than a plate of piss. Just some things. Claudio had a good little outing there.
Yeah.
He
that was
talked
a nice
well.
Little moment. Yeah, absolutely.
Chica Marks is in the chat. Honk.
Chica Marks. Honk for Chica Marks.
She gave a honk. She gave a honk. Hold on.
You have a honk?
There we go.
There it is.
We had to give a little honk for Chica Marks. Everyone's getting honks today.
Oh yeah.
But him versus Dustin Rhodes this
that
coming
should
Dynamite.
be, again, I don't care, but it should be a good match.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good match.
It's gonna be great.
It's on Rampage.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Then we have Swerving Their Glory, totally embarrassing the Private Party again, as per usual. Then we have Zach Clayton just getting buried immediately. To Hook.
Good, which is good.
It's fine, but just what's the point?
I think this was supposed to be some type of ratings ploy. Very minor.
Where's the ratings supposed to come in with this?
Because he's really popular. That guy's really popular. Yeah.
Never heard of him before in my life.
Neither have I, but he's popular with he's popular with a generation that still watches MTV.
Woodsy the Beast is in the chat, and they just wrote, Velocity is better than Rampage.
Dude, that was sick.
That's true. Velocity is better than Rampage this week.
Well, whatever.
This week.
Sure.
Because
even if I wasn't really motivated to watch either one of those shows, so
then we're followed up that squash with another squash, Buddy Matthews versus Serpentico.
Yeah, sure. To set up Miro. And there was a point to this to set up Miro. This was the only match on the card that actually served a point, I guess, other than the main event, if that was the main event, to further along the trios tournament. But other than that, I mean.
Yep, that's just whatever. Penelope Ford versus Athena. Penelope Ford looked good here.
Yeah.
For the time that she was out there, but it was only for Jade to come out with a sledgehammer and smash the stupupid wings.
Yeah. I hope those wings go away. So.
I hope those wings go away.
Yeah, and also no one cares because Athena's not on TV on a weekly basis. So
why do we care?
And I get it. I get that there's only so much time for so many people, but you just debuted this person and they've been on TV 3 times across 2 months. So.
That's pretty depressing. And not to stop there, we also have the main event, which was the Best Friends versus Trustbusters. And it was fine.
It was fine. It served its purpose.
Served its purpose-ish. Right? It didn't get me excited about the trios tournament.
Yeah, but some of these matches aren't. Some of these first round matches won't.
Oh, this is the first round. That's where I just realized. I completely forgot that. So this is the first round. It just completely escaped me that it was the first round of the tournament. That's how little it mattered.
Well, what do you mean?
It just they
you
barely
met.
met.
A trios match.
I just thought it was a trios match. It just felt like a regular trios match. I don't even remember them mentioning it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. But yeah, that's Rampage. So that's a big fart in church. That's what we give Rampage.
It was fine. It was fine. Would I respond differently to a fart in church than someone else? Yes, because I think it's hilarious. But it just we got to keep turning up the heat here. You're letting the pitch go by every week. You do a Rampage that doesn't matter.
It's true. So. It's true. Hassan Terrell's here.
Hassan's here. Hello there.
Welcome. Oh, hello there. Hello there.
Hello there.
There we go. What happened to that one? That's been out of the works.
It's back.
It's back. But we have to start talking about the weekly wrestling news. The news you can't lose.
The news you can't lose.
Yeah. We're here today. Tam, can we go up to the first slide there? And it's something that you already posted, Roy. You already posted a picture. We're going to talk about Mean Mr. Punk. We're going to talk about Mean Mr. Punk.
A really interesting conversation.
Yeah. So CM Punk he's back, if you haven't heard, and he's challenged Jon Moxley. But before we get there, he came out this past Wednesday and started talking, calling out Hangman Page, who was not a part of this storyline, who is not in this script, who did nothing wrong.
Well,
why?
He did something wrong in Punk's eyes.
Is this an appropriate tit for tat?
No, it's not. Okay. And that's the problem. Every wrestler has 3 different parts of their life: their on-screen persona, who they are in real life, and who they are backstage.
Oh, just like astrology.
Just like astrology.
You got your sun, your moon, and your rising.
Right, exactly. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Do I think this is a disproportionate response to something that Hangman did? Yes. Do I think that this was the wrong thing to do? Yes. Do I think Punk is like a company guy? Absolutely not. Because he made himself look stupid. He made Hangman, who's like the future, one of the key future pieces to this company, and he made the company look bad. He made everybody look bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can just say whatever you want. This is the 1-year anniversary, and we're going to talk about it later. Like, this is the 1-year anniversary of him coming back to professional wrestling. Today is.
Yeah.
And it took 1 year to get sour Punk.
Punk, just a little bit more detail on that. Just in terms, I don't want to talk about privilege when it comes to 2 white guys in the ring.
Sure.
But that being said, like, Punk has a lot more privilege in AEW where he could get away with this shit. Hangman can't. Hangman's not going to do that. And not only can't he wouldn't do that to Tony Khan.
No,
he wouldn't do that because he cares.
He cares about the company.
He cares about AEW. Punk does not. When he
Clearly
said,
not.
What did Hangman say to Punk that caused him to be upset? Because I watched some of the footage recently just to kind of find out where it happened. Was it like, I'm defending AEW from you?
Yes.
I think if that's the case, he literally solidified that in this past.
Well, that's the thing that's weird. So
Dynamite.
I listened to a few different things, and everybody else feel free to chime in if they want to give their own 2 cents on this. And I still think it's a little unclear. I listened to Meltzer talk about it for like 25 minutes this morning to try to get an understanding of what's going on.
On what? What did you listen?
It was on YouTube. It was like a video on YouTube. I used to subscribe, but times are tough here. I got to cut back. So yeah. And there's like layers to this, and this is my assumption. This is not fact. This is what I'm going off of. The AEW locker room was upset. It all started months ago. The AEW locker room was upset because Cabana was getting cut.
Yeah.
And everyone in the AEW locker room, not everyone necessarily, but a majority of the people in the AEW locker room are like, what are you doing? You can't do that. Despite the fact that he's not on television often, which is not his fault, book him. He is incredibly well liked backstage. He is a team player. He helps book matches. He helps agent. He helps younger talent. He knows everybody. He's generally a light in the locker room. He's a good person to have around. He is always in good spirits. He is pleasant. He is fun, whatever. And there was zero reason to not like okay, look, Joey Janela, for example, God rest his soul. God loves Joey Janela. Yeah, but he didn't bring a lot backstage, and they weren't really using him. He asked for his release. They weren't going to renew his contract. Mutual, see you later. Same with Marco Stunt, etc. But Cabana has been around for 20 plus years and can really help people. So when Khan was just going to let him go, that caused a lot of frustration, and I think a lot of people were like, this is CM Punk's fault. Not directly. I don't think anyone was directly blaming Punk, but Tony Khan, I'm also of the mindset, and I could be wrong about this, I'm of the mindset that Tony Khan never wanted to bring in Cabana. But the Young Bucks and Kenny were like, this guy is the godfather of so many different things on the independent scene. If everyone's getting a paycheck, he deserves to get one too. He was the first guy to like make merch and bring merch to like wrestling shows, and he passed that down to everybody else, and everybody started doing it. Whatever.
Well, not the first one, but
he's up there of this generation.
To sell merch online.
He literally created pro wrestling tees.
Yeah.
So, and they also know how much he can do helping young talent, et cetera, et cetera. So I think he was a Young Bucks hire. He wasn't a Tony Khan hire. So I don't think Tony Khan ever cared in the first place. And I think Tony Khan always had in the back of his head, if I ever want CM Punk, I should probably stay away from Colt Cabana. But Cabana came in, and then, of course, when CM Punk came in, what did Cabana do? Nothing. He's a professional. He just did what he had to do. He showed up when he had to show up. He said what he had to say, whatever. And then over time, and so people were already mad about that. And I think, in turn, one of those people who were mad about that were Hangman. And then Hangman said this thing about locker room cancer and protect everybody from you and all of that. And I think he took that personally. Punk took that personally and took that as an affront as relating to the Colt Cabana stuff. And Punk kept that card in his pocket, held on to it, and waited 4 months to finally say something. And he said it on live television rather than have a conversation backstage about it.
It's very childish.
It's strange.
Churlish. We have some comments here. Hassan says, "Oh, thanks," and probably to our hello there. Yes. Hassan writes, "Rampage was cool." Which Rampage you watching?
It was cool. It wasn't eventful, but it was fine.
Hassan writes, "Is Game of Thrones season on tomorrow?" I believe it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe we should have a Talking Thrones session.
Oh, Talking Thrones. That's fun. Yeah.
Hassan says CM Punk is back. The real CM Punk's back. Moody Kaboody. Even talk of him potentially quitting has been circling in the back. Just in terms
crazy.
Of his attitude. It's crazy. Yeah. But it's like apparently he's got a real attitude. But to your point, what you're talking about, next slide, Tam. Rumbles of unhappiness in that locker room.
Yeah.
And really starting with Punk getting there with what happened with Colt, like you mentioned.
Right.
Meltzer has been saying that people are at a breaking point.
Yeah.
He mentioned, and that Khan really has to step up and do something rather than just kind of say to everyone, nothing's wrong. Everyone's happy. Right. And honestly, do you know what Tony Schiavone's new position is?
So I read an interview that I didn't listen to the podcast, but he said, I guess, that he just walks around the locker room and it's like, how you doing? You doing okay?
He's a part of talent relations now.
Yeah, which is great, honestly.
He's a great choice because he's a good guy. And he's I think the reason I'm successful is because I know how to talk to people.
And I think that's he just has respect. I mean, he's been around since the 80s. Everybody has to respect him. And he, talks straight shit. And he's a funny guy and you can joke around with him. He's easy to approach. He's probably, I don't think Christopher Daniels is the most approachable guy in the world based on the interviews and stuff that I've heard. I mean, I think this is the right call.
Yeah, and thank God it's not JR, because JR has become they put JR talent relations now. I'm sure he was good back then, but he's too sensitive.
It was great back then, but it was a different generation. It was a different thing. The thing that I wanna throw out there about this Punk stuff and people being unhappy and all of that. Put yourself in this situation, I guess. Think about AEW a year ago. Think about AEW 14 months ago. No Punk. No Danielson, no Cole, no Claudio, some other guys. Knowing what you know now, do you go and pick up these guys?
Wait, what do you mean?
Do you make the same decisions that you made? You get a huge moment with CM Punk. You get 1 million+ viewers for Rampage. You get some huge buy rates early on. You get this great feud with MJF. But here's the thing, right? When you bring in someone like Punk, think about WCW. WCW in 1994 brought in Hogan for the first time. And in that same year, see you later, Steve Austin. See you later, Mick Foley. Vader started kind of creeping his way out the door. Pillman started creeping his way out the door. And then with Hogan came Honky Tonk Man and Earthquake and all these other guys, right? So the culture is going to change no matter what you do. Now, Punk didn't do, in the long run, he's probably not going to do what you thought he was going to do. And he completely changed the culture of your locker room, which was the number one draw of AEW for professional wrestlers, that you get to go to a non-political locker room, everybody's friends, it's a good time, it's like a wrestler's first organization. And I'm not saying it's not that anymore, but it's not what it used to be.
But you have to also put into context, they were a growing company that was had from nothing,
Sure.
and this past summer is the first time we've seen them stumble. really stumble,
which
with
is
like
happen.
all the, it's going to happen, but with all the injuries and such like that, people were still, even if you were low on the card, you were riding the high of being on the rising ship. But now that you're seeing it be stagnant, like kind of like, have some rocky terrain with injuries, and then also like some dips in ratings, stuff like that.
And some unhappiness.
You're starting to get some unhappiness. So I'm curious to see where this goes next. I don't know if it's, you asked the question, would I
what
hire
do you
Punk?
do?
Yeah, I'd hire Punk in a heartbeat. I'd hire Punk. Every single person that they hired, I'd hire, because honestly, they're worth it. Would I have hired Hogan? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I would have.
Sure.
And I would have brought Honky Tonk Man and all those people, because it made Hogan happy. But like I think Bischoff did the right thing to bring Hogan in, and I think that he did the right thing to bring Punk, Danielson, all those people in. Yeah, we have some comments here. Tony writes, "Drama Queen CM Punk, boom!" Hello. Hi, Tony. Tony writes, Moxley should just smash a bundle of light tubes on Cena. Tony, get out of here.
The other thing to think about,
I'm excited for that match, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be a schmaz, and they never do schmazes, and I'm excited about that. The other thing that we need to remember, and this is the problem. This is the fucking problem. 974,000 viewers, consistently over 900,000 viewers every week, and number 1 or number 2 on cable every night, ratings wise, and you're still drawing well, and it's great for a company in its 3rd year. But we're not thinking of it that way, because you bring in a guy like CM Punk, you bring in Danielson, like you do that, you're not like an upstart anymore. You're not, you are going for it. Yep. And if you fall any less than competing with Raw or whatever, ratings wise, whatever, then you're going to look like a failure. And that's kind of where they're at right now, even though, again, they're a 3-year company. They're brand new, but it feels flat because you went all in, no pun intended, by bringing in Punk, Danielson, and Cole all at the same time. And then last year, you were doing over 1 million. You beat Raw a couple of months or a couple of weeks in 18 to 49 or whatever. Like, you were doing it. And now you're stumbling, and now things are kind of stagnant from like a business perspective. I mean, the shows have been good, but I don't know. I think everything that they're doing is good, but now they're being compared to the WWE a little more than I think is fair, but also they created that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's true. Joe writes, Joe's in the chat.
Oh, here we go.
I like Joe's starting shit in the fucking Discord. You all got to join this Discord. It's getting spicy in there. You guys got to watch it. I'm gonna have to get a moderator one of these days.
Him and S really go to town.
Him and S just went to town last night, and I was just like, anyone like pizza?
Yeah, thank God.
Anyone want a pizza? Joe writes, Khan's biggest problem in all of this is that he praises Punk too much. Punk knows he'll let him do whatever he wants. But I don't think that's more of a CM Punk specific. I think Tony Khan lets everyone do whatever they want.
Well, it's interesting.
A little bit too much.
Meltzer said in this thing, and I recommend everybody going and it's like a 20-minute YouTube video it's a soundbite from his show this past yesterday. Tony Khan forever was the cool boss. He was the cool, fun boss, and now a lot of people get to make their own decisions creatively, but it's always Tony Khan that has the final say. And when someone can't agree on something, Tony has to side with one person or the other, and that other person inevitably gets their feelings hurt, and it's creating some friction backstage. So, I mean, they also could benefit from a booker. I don't know who that booker would be.
He just needs a strong man. He needs a Bruce Pritchard. Not Bruce Pritchard, but a Bruce Pritchard type that's just able to do the dirty work for him with everyone hating him. That's why I think Gerald Briscoe would have been phenomenal for that. Well,
and that's the other thing to think about, too. Going back to WCW and Hogan, there has never been a wrestling company in the history of the world, other than the obvious one, that hasn't had issues like this, where egos are kind of getting in the way and all of these things are happening. And that is the best possible trait Vince McMahon ever had of everything. I don't think Vince McMahon's that creative. I think he's a good businessman. I think Pat Patterson was the creative one. But the biggest and best thing, the best trait Vince ever had was that no one ever fucked with Vince.
Yeah.
And that's what always kept everything on the right track, is that no one was ever bigger than Vince. Punk said whatever Punk wanted to say, but Vince had the final say, and everybody was like, all right, well, we can't fuck with Vince. That's
and
how
even
it goes.
Punk didn't go past what he was supposed to say.
Sure.
Like, there was never issues of like Punk going off book, like here
it's
just
not even, I mean, I'm
it's
sure
just like
there
here
was.
it's like, I don't know, like, because like
but
I was
they played
listening
with
to,
it and it was fine. But
they
you never
played with
heard
it.
stuff like this where like someone's pissed off because of this and someone went off script and said this. And like Vince's whole thing was always no one is bigger than the company. Yeah. And it's funny because like Vince fired all of these people and spent all of this time not pushing any of them. So now they're all in AEW having great matches and only the diehards really care. Because the like normal novice WWE fan is like, oh, well, that's Rusev. Rusev always lost, so I don't give a shit about Rusev.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
It's weird. I'm very excited. I don't know. I love the tension, personally. I love it. Tony writes, AEW has the best t-shirts. That's true.
Sure.
Actually, I don't know about that. I haven't bought a single AEW t-shirt. Joe writes, Bruce is looking for a job, I hear. Lulz. Please, God, don't pick him up. Tony would never.
Useless.
Tony would never,
no,
right?
No.
Yeah, there's not a chance. Okay, but we still have more to talk about in the AEW land. Next slide there, Tam. This may be happening, Roy, because MJF may be returning to TV within September.
Now's the time.
Big reason is that this whole Discovery merger, the September ratings for TNT are crucial.
Yeah.
And they cannot be going in with a dip. They have to be higher than ever this month. And so it's very likely that they're going to be bringing MJF in. How do you see them doing it?
I've maintained this whole time that Punk wins the match, unifies the titles, and MJF comes out. And I love S's idea. I really do. Friend of the show, S. Wonderful.
Friend of the show, S. Where are you, S?
He has this theory that like this is all a work shoot, and they're going ex-WWE versus AEW originals. So like Hangman and MJF, essentially. Not like begrudging, strange bedfellows. They're not like on the same page and pals. And I think it's interesting. But I mean, I think CM Punk MJF is probably the way to go for the title, and MJF wins the title.
But how do you bring MJF back? Like that, like it's I get where you're saying. Like, I know where I want them to land is them for the title. But like, how do they bring him back in that could match anything that was done when he left?
I don't think you can't think about that now, I think, because they already, I don't know if they've dropped the ball on it necessarily, because I think they've got a plan. I think they already have a plan, but I think CM Punk wins at the pay-per-view, and then at the pay-per-view, CM Punk poses, MJF's music hits, they have a stare down, and they go off the air.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that, I guess you have to be simple, because like if you try to overthink it, it's just going to get muddled. Joe writes, they need MJF back. Especially if Crying Boy Punk leaves. The Crying Boy Punk isn't leaving, all right? Leave Crying Boy Punk alone. Yeah. We have to keep moving on because we have some sad...
It's just still so baffling to me. I'm sorry. It's just still so baffling to me that, like, Hangman... And look, I'm a homer for Hangman, but, like...
You love Hangman.
Old Hanger just says a thing in a promo to try to get heat and get things going, and Punk just never says anything to him and just waits... Like, I find it hard to believe that Hangman knew nothing about any of this. But at the same time, and I hate to say this, but Triple H claims that of all of the things that Punk complained about on Cabana's podcast, Triple H never knew about any of it either. And I'm not prone to believing Triple H necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if Punk's the type of cat, and I'm similar, where I complain about a bunch of shit to a bunch of people, but all of those people aren't the people that I need to be talking to. And then I'm like, I said all these things. I've been saying this for months, but I haven't been saying them to the right people. So my anger is still there, and then I explode in some inappropriate way, similar to how Punk did.
And also, and I'll stand by this to the day I die, WWE pieces of shit most of the time, but in terms of how they treat them medically the past 20 years since Benoit and Eddie, they've, like, if he complained about back spasms, if he had this lump on his back, which we can't see video evidence of ever,
There's video.
There's video of him shitting his pants, but there's no lump.
I'm saying there's because the thing is the lump was always hidden, but whatever, it's fine. The lump was
okay.
It was literally on his trunk.
But he said you could see it in the match, and I looked, and I'm just like, you can't see anything. You should look. It's right there. It's there. It's not there. And so the thing is, I like. Yeah, he's someone that has a lot of internal thoughts that expects people to know them. And he's like, how could you not know I'm in pain? Don't you see me feeling in pain? Like, it just, and so while I agree with a lot of the things he says, him saying that like WWE didn't medically treat him well is full of shit.
Well, did Moxley call him a martyr on Wednesday?
Yeah.
No. Moxley did, or was that Triple H promo? I don't remember.
Both of them did.
And I think that's true to a certain extent. I think he was like, yeah, I was complaining about this. They said they gave me this, but I think he was someone who was like, over. I'm going to fight. I'm going to show everybody that I'm the toughest person here, and I'm going to go for it no matter what, and I'm going to blah, 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 and then do whatever I have to do. But then at the end of the day,
but boy, you're going to hear about it.
Like, who's the one to blame? It's tough. It's tough. It's weird.
Tony writes, CM Punk, you're fired. Tony Khan just fired CM Punk today. Tony writes, Hangman was not even at the arena when Punk called him out. What a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was. He was in catering. John Silver posted.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And he said best wrestler in catering, which is very funny. And it's like a cultural thing. Again, you got to bring in Punk. You got to do what you got to do to make the money you want to make. But maybe I don't, and maybe I just reinvest my money in Cody. I don't know.
Did you just say bring back Cody?
No, I'm saying back then.
Cody's
like
better for the locker room.
I'm saying a year
Cody
ago.
is better for the locker room.
A year ago. I still bring in Danielson, and I still bring in Cole. No, 100%. Because Danielson just wants to wrestle, and Cole is from Ring of Honor and best friends with the Bucks. He is, even though he hasn't.
Danielson's giving back.
Yeah, he also exactly. He's training Jade Cargill, and Cole. Even though he hasn't been used well, he's the happiest person in the world. He's with his girlfriend and his best friends. He's having the time of his life. He's getting paid a bunch of money. Cole's great for the locker room.
We got Joe writing. Joe writing. As good as the MJF angle is, it is going to be very hard to bring him back in a logical way, unless they do a "I'm contractually bound to be here" thing, which is interesting. And then it makes it a feud with Khan. Actually, that's not bad. If he just shows up and he's just like, "Here I am, contractually here to serve my term," and if that's the gimmick they play, I think that'd be interesting. Good point,
It's
Joe.
a good idea, except MJF is so good, and if that's what they're doing, they're going to make the company look like shit. He's going to get over, and he's going to bury the company in the process.
If he knows how to play it well, if he's playing game and they give him give him an incentive to be happy, he'll play game well.
Sure.
Joe writes, did Royce somewhat praise Triple H? But he's the devil incarnate.
I didn't praise him. I was just stating that what Triple H said in response to Punk's stuff on Steve Austin's podcast is it's possible that it could be accurate. That's all.
I was trying to find a Triple H being like, play the game. Hold on. I'll get there. There's nothing. Triple H.
Hey, yo.
Okay, all right.
Wrong guy. Okay.
Yeah, I just think it's possible.
Hassan says, why CM Punk got fired?
He didn't actually get fired, Hassan.
Well, he did. He got his papers.
What are you talking about?
WWE. He got his papers. He got his papers on his wedding day.
WWE.
Are you talking about WWE or AEW? AEW hasn't been fired yet. But WWE, he got fired on his wedding day, which is pretty funny. Moving on.
And you know who was there next to him as he got his papers? Colt Cabana.
Were we talking about what were we talking about? What were we last on? MJF. Okay, but sad news here with next slide. Chris Statlander's out.
Yes. Yeah.
Chris Statlander is out
for her too.
Yeah, she's got another torn ACL on her good knee.
Crazy.
Man, it's a real shame because
it is a shame.
We wanted the best for her, and she was actually starting to get interesting.
Yeah, and she was going to beat Jade for that title.
You think so?
They'd said that the plan was for her to have a high-profile match against Jade, which would hopefully lead to her beating her. Yeah, it is sad, but I think she'll be back, and I think she'll be good. I've seen videos of her on Instagram working out her other leg, so she's dedicated. She's psyched. She's ready. She's tough.
We all hope the best for Chris.
Absolutely.
100%. But we have to talk. Could you go to the next slide there, Tam? Because this is very important. I want to change the mood here a little bit because Triple H is doing such a good job in WWE. Here are some of the changes.
So good.
Let's. I'll read off the list.
He has like an intelligent, cohesive wrestling show. Big deal.
Better than some people this
what
week.
What should be expected? That's not true.
I'm saying, yeah, he's able to do it for 2 hours. Tony Khan is able to do it for 2 hours a week. If Triple H is able to do it for 20 hours a week, however many hours, that's pretty fucking special. The creative direction, he's taking it back to basics, just having logical storylines. Apparently, HBK said that there's going to be a more natural transition from NXT WWE, keeping their names, keeping their prior feuds, NXT feuds. Possibly when they go into the main roster, they'll even feud with someone that was on NXT at the start. So they're working with someone they've already familiar with, get them used to the audience, that type of thing. Smart decisions, right?
Yeah, sure, of course. That's how it should always have been.
Drew Gulak is now back on Twitch.
Sure.
But that's huge.
That's great. That's great.
And he thanked Papa H.
Which is funny, yeah. I'd like to see Drew Gulak on television more as well.
Hey, baby steps. He's at least able to eat food again. Let Drew Gulak eat. Kevin Owens is going back to the prize fighter gimmick,
which is great. That's the best thing he's done so far.
And apparently, this is something a little dicey that Triple H did. Maybe you heard of it. Triple H has reached out apparently to an AEW contracted wrestler. And this, which is unnamed currently, but apparently the AEW contracted wrestler's like, hey, that's not supposed to happen. Tony, they talk to me. I can't talk to them back contractually. And Tony's just like, so yeah, that's interesting.
They're getting aggressive.
Who do you think they reach out to? It's Adam Cole.
You think it's Adam Cole, really?
I think it's Adam Cole.
It could be Adam Cole. I mean, he signed an 18,000-year deal, but it could be Adam Cole. I was thinking Dax.
Why don't you quit? What? Oh, maybe it's that. Honestly,
I was thinking FTR.
Actually, it's probably
and if
Dax.
Punk and AEW go south, FTR is going to go south with them. But the other thing is that Punk will never go back to the WWE ever, no matter what.
FTR will.
FTR would, yeah, but Punk won't.
I don't know about that.
Punk hates Triple H.
But he even said in an interview, like when he was deciding, he's just like, yeah, just the money wasn't right, the decision wasn't right, and it wasn't everything that was lined up. He was talking to them.
Yeah, but he also said recently when Triple H took over, he was like, just because the original scumbag's out doesn't mean that like anything's gonna change or so. He said something like that. He didn't call him a scumbag, but he said something like that.
But it is changing.
It's
so
not.
Shows
it's
how
not
much
like
you know.
It's not
CM
really.
Punk,
Okay.
CM Crystal Ball Punk. Ooh,
Yeah.
I got it.
CD Punk, Crystal Ball Punk.
Crystal Ball Punk, CD Punk. That's very good. That's a T-shirt. What do we have here? Are you guys? We got fired. Hassan says on AEW. No, CM Punk has not gotten fired yet.
He's not gotten fired. We're joking around.
Hassan writes, "Are you guys good?" Yeah, we're good. Thanks so much for checking in on us, Hassan. We really appreciate it.
Nice.
Wizzy to be says Statlander is gonna start walking like the Great Khali. Stop that.
That's
Don't
a nice
curse her like
callback,
that.
though, Woodsy.
That was a good callback.
Nice callback.
Don't curse her with that.
Woodsy, who won the SmackDown? Who won the Intercontinental title? Won number one contender match last night.
Yeah, let us know, Woodsy.
Woodsy will know.
Joe writes, Punk will never be fired by Khan. Khan will show up next week with cookies and flowers on his knees. I'm sorry, Punk. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, though.
He loves CM Punk more than life itself.
He does.
Wizzy the Bee says, never thought all 3 hours of Raw would be interesting. It wasn't. I saw some of Raw, and it was interesting. It was like and great wrestling. Great wrestling night.
Always good wrestling.
Not always.
I'm saying in the past couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. Past couple of weeks. Good wrestling. Hassan says, you are a good fans today. Aw,
thank you, Hassan.
Hassan, thank you so much, Hassan.
Nice.
We appreciate you. And you're a good fan, too.
We can always count on you, Hassan.
You're so pleasant, Hassan. Join the Discord.
Join the Discord.
Send over, give us an email at loserleaspod@gmail.com. We want you in there, Hassan.
Yeah, get it
Chica Marks writes, that voice did sound like Adam Cole's. Which voice? I don't know which one I did. Wizzy to Be says, it's Gresham. What does that mean? It's Gresham.
Gresham's the high level talent. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Gresham, because he's still technically under contract. The talent that Triple H reached out to, and we don't have confirmation that it was Triple H, but someone reached out.
Gresham did not reach out to him, because Gresham is not going to be like,
oh, hey Tony Khan. Yeah, that's right.
Hey Tony,
yeah.
My best friend Tony. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Oh no, Chica Mark says that voice sound like Adam Cole. Who was I saying?
You were doing a little kid voice.
Who's the kid voice? Who's calling? Oh, Adam Cole. Oh, yeah. That's what Tony. Oh, that's right. That didn't sound like him. Joe writes, "Open your heart, Roy." Open your heart, Roy. Triple H had his faults in the past, but he is really improving things.
Joe, I am tired of hearing about how Triple H had his faults in the past, but we can all agree that he's grown and moved on, blah, blah, blah.
He's improving things.
Whatever. He fucked over FTR like within the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I don't think that was him. Why in the world would you think it's him?
Have you heard this story? I've told you this story. I've told this story before on this.
Shawn Michaels was a little shit to them.
And Triple H didn't take the time afterwards to be like, hey, guys, thanks for doing that. Triple H fucking mentored them and didn't take the time to be like, sorry, you guys are getting buried tonight. Didn't take a second to talk to them. And he should have.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
If Sean Waltman can, who doesn't work for the company, Triple H.
Because he doesn't work for the company. Do you think Triple H? I have a question. If you're at a company where everyone talks,
I have a question.
Can I ask a question here?
Why are you yelling at me?
Why are you yelling at me?
Why are you yelling at me? Oh, son of a bitch!
But he's working for the company. Everyone talks to everyone. He can't go up to talent and be like, sorry, you're used improperly. So
you're right.
Said talent could then go to Meltzer and say, because they went to Meltzer to say Sean Waltman did it. They said Sean Waltman
he didn't go to Meltzer. I heard the story right out of Dax's mouth.
So yeah, exactly. Dax said it. That's the issue. It's
about
the fact
4
that,
years later.
Yeah, but if he goes and says like Triple H is sorry for it, like it just gets out.
No. This is what I'm saying. After the whole thing happened, X-Pac went over to them and said thank you and shook their hands and thanked them for the segment. Triple H could have walked over and done the same exact thing.
I'm sorry.
That's all I'm saying.
What else was Sean Waltman doing that night? Nothing.
Oh, my
Triple
God.
H was
right.
Triple H was like, oh, after this segment, I then have to do all this paperwork.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It must be so difficult.
Why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me?
Boy, stop. You're really hurting JR.
It must be so difficult to walk over to someone, shake their hand, and say, thank you.
Why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me?
Just say, why are you yelling at me? Woodsy to be Hassan Terrell, that was nice. No, you are nice, Hassan, and we appreciate you. Woodsy to be says Sheamus.
Sheamus
won.
It's Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash of the Castle. That should be fun.
That's going to be fucking stiff as shit.
Yeah, they're gonna beat the shit out of each other.
Hassan
I worry about Sheamus's neck.
Hassan says, "Oh, thanks, guys. You are friendly."
Yes,
Hassan, you are actually making my day.
I'm about to go down to Taco Bell and give me a blast.
That's for you. Joe writes, Triple H loves FTR. He would take them back in a heartbeat and push them to the top. I'm sure. I believe that.
I'm not convinced.
Hassan writes, nice hat. Thanks. It's a Brewers cap. Joe writes 80 to 90% of those that have worked with him in the last couple of years have been glowing of Triple H, saying how much he's done for them and their careers. Everyone in wrestling has something that don't like, someone that don't have people that don't like. Good point, Joe. Good point. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I don't. Can we move on?
Okay, I'll move on. I'm sorry.
Yes, I've heard. I heard people like him. I get it. I like him too. Before AEW started, I loved him. Even though he was trying to put Ring of Honor and New Japan out of business. It's fine.
But we have to go to the next slide here, Tam, because there's some not so nice things happening in the WWE land. I think NXT UK is dead, kind of.
Yeah,
are they
kinda,
dead?
Yeah. NXT is becoming NXT Europe, whatever that means. I didn't really read too much about it. But then in conjunction with that, they released like half of the NXT UK wrestlers.
I started writing them down, then realized I don't know any of the people they are.
Yeah, so I just know
Trent Seven is gone.
Trent Seven's gone. Flash Morgan Webster's gone.
Wild Boar.
Andrew something.
Mark Andrews. Jack Stars, Amade, Ashton Smith, Millie McKenzie, Nina Samuel, Sam Gradwell, Danny Luna, and
Dan
Dave Mastiff.
Dave Mastiff. That guy.
I like that dude too. I like some of those guys in there.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah, it's a good wrestling show. I'm glad that Ilya Dragunov is still around. He's great.
We don't know that yet. The status of Ilya and Noam Dar are unknown.
Oh, Noam Dar. Well, I hope that Ilya. I don't hope that he gets released necessarily, but if you're going to hold on to him, bring him to America and put him on TV because that guy fucking rules.
Yeah, he's dope.
He's great. I don't know. I don't have like strong feelings about this either way.
Bring him to the States and get rid of that fucking jacket he brings to the ring. Hate that shit.
And also bring Nigel McGuinness back to America and get him on commentary because I like Nigel McGuinness too.
Yeah. And get Noam Dar over here. I like Noam Dar.
Yeah, Noam Dar's good too. Yeah. And get Mako Satomura over here as well. I think she was a champ.
Mako Satomura over here this instant. We want that. Joe writes, Roy's the real reason they don't like Triple H now. Roy is the real reason they don't like Triple H now is because he poses the threat to AEW. We can love two companies again. Joe, you're trying to get shit started.
That's not true.
Joe,
I don't think they're that loyal to AEW.
Go into the Discord and eat some pizza. You got to calm down. Otherwise, you're going to the dog pound.
Nice. Good bark. Good bark.
We have to move on to some really sad news. Could you go to the next slide, Tam? Brandy Rhodes is training at the Performance Center.
Maybe Sarah Del Rey could fix it. Maybe that's what she needs.
Honestly, like her wrestling skills aside, which are atrocious, she has a personality that's grating, but could be a good heel.
Sure.
She has a lot of charisma, and she's there. She's like, I think actually the Performance Center could help her out a lot with her promo work and like just kind of like less is more.
Yeah.
A less is more approach. But man, am I not excited for them to try to push her.
No, I'm not excited.
I do not want them paired together.
I like them together, but only when Cody's a heel. Yeah.
But I do not want them together when he's trying to be this baby face and then she's coming around being like, I support him. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Woodsy the Beast says Dragunov is going to join Walter on SmackDown.
Those two together.
That's a good, put him in Imperium.
Put them in Imperium with the plan to eventually turn them against each other.
Yeah.
Because they fucking have great matches. They kill each other.
Sure, but like have him in there because I think he looks the part, and it's a great way to introduce someone, and that's a great, just put him in there. I like.
Yeah.
And we have one more news item for the day, Roy.
What do you got?
And this is a discussion piece.
Sure.
Next slide there, Tam. There's another rumor of a last match coming around. Conrad Thompson has reached out to someone. Did you hear who?
No.
I think you'll love it. And I love it. It's me.
That's nice.
It's DDP.
Yeah. Who's he fighting, though?
Don't know. He just said he was reached out by Conrad about a last match. That's a good choice because the guy's in great shape. He could do his basic things still pretty well.
Yeah, he can still hit a diamond cutter.
That's all he really needs to do. A few punches, a diamond cutter. And he's not someone that's going to be like, yeah, give me a 30-minute match. No. He's going to be someone that's like, let me have a solid 5 to 7 minute match.
Was Flair's last match 30 minutes?
27 minutes long.
Jesus Christ. I'm glad I haven't watched it yet.
27 minutes long.
That's a lot of time.
20 minutes of Andrade doing all the work. 10 minutes of Ric Flair struggling to breathe. It's just, if we get DDP would be a good choice.
DDP's a fun time. That's fun. That's better than anybody else I can think of right now, except for Sid. I think that's great.
You want Sid to have a last match?
Oh, it'd be so fun. It'd be like 30 seconds. Bring him out with a stretcher like an ECW. He power bombs some guy, probably drops him on his head, and that's it.
That's a shitty main event.
right. That should be the opener.
Yeah, it's DDP's last match. It's Sid's too.
Sid's fighting Serpentico in the opener.
DDP versus Sid. Someone will die.
Yeah.
Joe writes, are we not going to talk about Flair's weed company? Do we? That
good for you,
a while ago. Isn't that a while ago?
I guess. Goldberg's got a
I think it's a
CBD
while ago.
company now.
Goldberg, RVD, Kevin Nash.
Love that. I trust that more than
Kevin
anybody
Nash's
else.
Detroit weed.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't listened to his podcast yet. Have you?
I listen to clips. The problem is they talk about whatever. Sean Oliver's like a little obnoxious, but they also like, well, they'll get into politics and I don't really, just talk to me about whatever. You know who's killing it though, and this is no surprise to you. Foley is doing exactly what I want him to do. They're talking about Sabu, they're talking about WCW, they're talking about him and Eddie Gilbert. Like, that's the shit that I want to hear about. It's great.
I've fallen off the past few weeks on all podcasts, so I have to really do some catching up because I haven't listened since I forget when. I guess it was his comeback, his WrestleMania 20 thing.
Sure.
But man, yeah, that's the end of the news.
The end of the news.
That's the end of the news. But we got some content for you. You asked for it. We're bringing it. Roy, do you want to announce this?
So a couple of weeks ago in the chat during Woos and What's, I think it was, might have been Woodsy the Beast, Meta Sunbro, Hex Infinity. One of you mentioned doing a top 10 list of something nuts. It was like the build up to returns, like not the returns themselves, but like the top 10 builds to returns.
And
I can't do that. Yeah, I could try, but it would take me a very long time. So instead, we're bringing you the top 10 returns in the history of professional wrestling, according to myself. And of course, this list is going to be personal to me. There's some that we might disagree with. There's some that whatever. But yeah, I mean, let's get started, right? Let me pull up the stream so I can see the images as we do this. And Tam, if you want to get us ready and go to that first slide, I got to turn the volume down so I can't hear anything. Okay, Tam, if you want to go to the first slide, number 10. The number 10 best return in the history of professional wrestling.
I'm writing these down.
I should say that 8, 9, and 10, kind of or whatever. But number 10 is The Big Show in 2008. He was gone for a bit. Look, it was pickings were slim here. I honestly trying to think of some. But,
how did he? I don't remember this. How did he return? That was so momentous.
He returned at No Way Out 2008 after being gone for over a year, and people thought that he was going to retire, and he wasn't coming back. He came back, bald head, looked super slim, looked great, the best he'd looked in a decade, and immediately got into it with Floyd Mayweather, which was a very big moment at the time. Floyd Mayweather punches him in the face, breaks his nose, setting up their showdown.
That was pretty cool. Good point.
Pretty important. This is number 10 of the list so far. Let's move on to number 9. Do you have any thoughts?
This is going to be, I guess, I want to see what your number 9 is.
Yeah. Number 9, Tam.
What beat out this one?
So number 9 is a return and a debut in a way. I think this is number 9. I want to make sure that this is right. I believe the number 9, yes, is American Badass Undertaker. So Undertaker gets buried alive, Survivor Series 2000. No, that's not true at all. That's the Return of the Dead Man. I don't know what happens to him. I think he was ministry.
You're saying when he left, you get married, the end of 99, and then he was gone for like 6-7 months. Yeah. And then he came back. What was it? Summers? Not Summer. Before
it was
that,
like Judgment Day or Backlash, one of those. And he debuts. First time anyone has ever seen him on a motorcycle. He's the American Badass. I'm pretty sure his first theme song was Kid Rock, and then he ended up with Limp Bizkit. That music plays. He's riding the motorcycle. He's got the long hair. His hair's orange. He's natural hair color for one of the very few times in his career after he became the Undertaker. And this was pretty important, and this kind of set off like. To me, Undertaker's best run. I understand there's probably a lot of other runs that were probably better, but like Undertaker as Undertaker, gosh, Big Evil is the best version of the Undertaker in my opinion, and this is the precursor to Big Evil. So this is number 9 for me.
He was a little sluggish when he came back.
Sure,
he was definitely. Hold on a second.
Oh, where do you put that? Wow. Anyway.
But he was a little sluggish when he got back.
Sure.
But like this was a precursor for.
We also have to think about this. I should preface this by saying these are all moments. It's not about what happened after. It's about the significance and importance of
the moment
and when it happened. So
okay,
let's go to number 8.
You're gonna get some heat in the Discord for this.
This is a pretty WWF heavy list.
S is going to rip you asunder.
Just wait till we get to the top 5. Okay.
Before we get there, we have some comments here. Woodsy B says, "Are we not going to talk about Ezekiel in the hospital?" Actually, I wanted to bring it up, but I didn't want to bum everyone out. Ezekiel's in the hospital, and we don't know what's going to happen with his career. But thankfully, Elias might be coming back, and also his dad might be coming to the ring. He was a former fighter in his day. Hassan says, "What Clash of the Castle is coming? When is it coming, Roy?
Next week or 2 weeks from now? Same weekend as AEW. Yeah, I'll watch it."
Joe writes, "Ezekiel and his family are the greatest stable of all time." We'll get to that. We'll do a top 10 stables of all time.
Good. That's next. That's the next one.
Your random comment has turned into a great next week.
Good one.
Number 8.
Number 8 is the return and debut of Goldberg in the WWE. Now, why is this important? Whoa. You're making eyes over here. This is important on a lot of levels, right? You got to think about Goldberg had been off television for a while, horribly misused in his last year in WCW, was getting his pay, was getting everything, and he debuts the night after WrestleMania against The Rock. Spears Hollywood Rock out of his little boots. And this is one of the best runs of The Rock's career up until this point. He had come back in February of 2003. At No Way Out, he beats Hogan. At WrestleMania, he beats Austin. Then the next night, he's like, "Who's left? There's nobody left. I've beaten Hogan and Austin. I've beaten the 2 most popular
wrestlers."
Did he
say who's next?
No, he might have. I don't know. I didn't watch the segment to do this. But I should mention that all of the images in this countdown are from the very night that they debuted, for the record. And then Goldberg debuts. And it's a huge moment. It's a genuinely huge moment, but it's weird. It's definitely a weird moment because JR is calling Goldberg and they're playing the music and they're doing the whole thing and he spears The Rock and it's good, but it's weird. And then in his debut match, he beats The Rock. So I think this is pretty important. Okay. This is a really good debut.
Interesting.
But it lacks historical significance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it makes the list.
Okay.
Number 7, Tam.
Now it's supposed to be getting into the real stuff,
it's
right?
It's really the top 6, top 7. This one definitely should make the list. I think you might say that this should be higher, but whatever. Number 7, another night after WrestleMania debut or return. 2012, Brock Lesnar returns to WWE after... Oh, wait. I lied. I got my list confused. Number 7 is actually Jon Moxley returning to AEW after getting out of rehab. And you may say to yourself, this isn't that significant. False. It's incredibly significant, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Jon Moxley, not only did he return, but he looked incredible. He had that return body. That's clean and sober living body. He looked fucking great, first of all. Second of all, this was the first time, probably in the history of professional wrestling, that a wrestler just put his emotions on his sleeve and talked about real life shit. Came back from rehab. Everyone knew where he went. Everyone knew that he was coming back. He cut a great promo. He told the guy to shut the fuck up like within 2 seconds on live television and got the guy kicked out of the building. And ever since then, he's gone on the run of his career. I think this is an important return for the culture that is professional wrestling and professional wrestling fandom. Similar to Eddie Kingston, 2 guys who are willing to be open and vulnerable about what they struggle with in real life and using that in professional wrestling. And this is a good example of someone who came back and was honest, and since then has gone on a great run.
I appreciate this list so far because I feel like this is a very in Roy's brain list. And I guess I would do the same thing.
Sure.
Some of my picks, I can't wait to show you some of mine.
Oh, yeah.
I only did a top 5.
Well, we'll see. I think some of our picks will match it up. A few of them.
I don't know, but maybe. So Moxley's number 6.
Number 7. Number 7 is Moxley.
Number 7. Joe writes, not to nitpick, but is this list of returns or debuts? Goldberg is a debut.
I've thought a lot about this. I will say that in the grand scheme of things, everyone knew who he was. Right.
It's a return.
Right.
I feel like if they're not on national television, it's a debut. If they're coming back, it's a return.
Right. Agreed. If you've been gone from wrestling for more than a year and the company that you used to work for no longer exists.
Would you call the Nightmare Cody Rhodes a return or a debut?
That's a return. That's a return. That should be on this list. I didn't even think of that. That should be number 10 on this list. The Big Show should not be on this list.
You think that should be number 10?
It should be in the 10s. It's either 8, 9, or 10 for me.
Okay, we'll talk. I have a list of ones here.
Now I've given away my number 6.
That'd be a return.
That's right? A return. Yeah, that's definitely a return.
Not a debut, even though the Nightmare Cody Rhodes has never been in WWE.
Right. Yeah, and there's a couple in my top 4 or 5. There's one in my top 4 or 5 that are similar from a debut/return. Which one is it? But I went with it. But anyway, number 6 has been ruined. It's Brock Lesnar after being gone. Tim, you can go to number 6. Yeah, I think this was really important because he had been gone for 8 years, I guess, and the WWE product at the time was pretty stagnant. They ruined CM Punk. Like, he had just become champion, but they kind of ruined his whole run. And John Cena was stale at the top, and they needed somebody new. And here comes Brock. And look what Brock has done since. I rag on Brock a lot. I think he's gotten stale in a lot of ways. That's not necessarily his fault. I think recently he's reinvented himself with the ponytail and all that shit. But there's a while where he was pretty stale. But he was always very exciting, especially around this period of time. And it added a new layer. Yeah, that match is incredible.
That match is incredible. Extreme Rules, what was it, 2013? 12? Extreme Rules 2012. He gives it his all.
Yeah.
You'll never see Brock Lesnar give more of himself than his return match.
Crazy.
And he, for some reason, those fools made him lose. Fools made him lose. That was the stupidest decision I've ever seen.
It was trying to get John Cena's heat back because he lost to The Rock.
Lose twice.
Really mediocre match.
Tony writes, Super Dragon's return to PWG.
That's a good one, Tony. That's a good one. Didn't quite make the list. Just like Sandman returning to ECW didn't quite make my list either.
Oh, thank God. Joe writes, Cody's return should definitely be in the top 5.
Let's talk about the top 5 first before we start talking about Cody. Cultural significance. Remember, cultural significance.
Okay. We're here.
Now let's go to number 5, Tam. This one I think people forget about very often, but it had a huge impact. And it like skyrocketed. A rocket that was already flying, but it really juiced it up. It kept it flying. Number 5, the night after WrestleMania 14, X-Pac, Sean Waltman, returns to the WWF.
Interesting. Interesting. And like the crowd reaction, everyone went mild.
Everyone went nuts. Are you kidding?
Okay.
Go back and watch the promo.
I'll watch it again.
Go back and watch the promo. This is the first time that the WWF openly, who's not Vince or Jim Cornette, talks about Eric Bischoff, mistreatment from WCW, how Waltman's there to take down WCW, and it launches DX into the version of D-Generation X that we all remember and think of fondly. If you go back and watch a lot of the Shawn Michaels Triple H stuff of DX in 97, early 98, it kind of sucks. It's not good. They're playing strip poker. They're like cooking hot dogs. It's really stupid shit. Sean Waltman changes DX for the better. And also just really like cements the upper mid card for this era of the WWF.
Okay. All right. I'm going to.
And it's also the first real pickup that the WWF had in that era.
I guess okay.
Like he had some momentum going into it because he was a member of the NWO.
Sure. But like, I don't know. Something about that is just like the reaction I have to watch, but the reaction I assume is just like, oh, I remember him.
And then he starts talking. And he's burying Bischoff, and he's shouting out Nash and Hall, and he's talking about the Click. And that's not something that was done all the time at that period of time.
I'll cede it a little bit.
It's significant.
It's significant.
It was. And now Joe's bringing up another thing that like was honorable mention for me.
Interesting. We'll talk about after number 5. We'll get into some of these.
Number 4 we talked about last week, and I wasn't going to put it on my list, but I just thought about it, and I had to
answer you, Hassan. Yes, Sean Waltman is X-Pac. But continue, Roy.
Hassan say that?
Hassan asked
that? That's great. Let's go to number 4. This is one that you have already disagreed with because I already brought it up. but I'm going for it.
The Sandman.
Number 4 is not a wrestler returning, but the only good company revival in the history of professional wrestling, ECW One Night Stand 2005. This is, from start to finish, the best. First of all, that picture, I love that picture.
That's a play. That's so fucking dumb.
It's the best ECW pay-per-view ever.
Yeah.
And the emotions that went into it, the crowd from start to finish, the angle at the end with the ECW originals and the WWE guys, the whole thing was a wonderful, wonderful comeback. A one-night return for ECW. It was fantastic. It was the best. It was the best. If they had never done anything ever again, this could potentially be number 1. But they kept going, and then TNA did their whole thing, and there was all this other shit. So this doesn't make it. But for this show, in the importance of saying goodbye to ECW the way that the fans really wanted to, this deserves to be on this list, and for me, this is number 4.
But wait, hold on. Let's just sit on this one for a second. Because when you talk about a return, I'm expecting a moment. So when it was announced, or are you saying...
The show itself.
The show itself was the return.
The show itself was the return.
Okay.
And the moment. It was one big moment.
Just a few comments here. Joe writes, should Triple H after returning from quad surgery? That was huge. Roy said that's in honorable mentions. We'll have a discussion about that soon.
Mention.
Woodsy says, Cena's bloody smile from the brawl with Brock on the Go Home Raw before Extreme Rules was awesome. Yes, It was really cool.
Yep.
Joe says, no, it's co-star of One Night in China. It's the co-star of One Night. Joe, no China jokes on this show ever. Yeah. I'll stand by that. China deserves all the respect in the world. Hassan says Stone Cold and Sandman. Yes. I love you, Hassan. Tony writes, Sandman never got to Kane Austin. Put Kane as like Kane. It confused me for a second. That's true. He never did get to Kane Austin, which would have been cool. They should have had a match.
Yeah. They should have had a match. They probably did, honestly.
With a beer on your shirt match.
They probably had a Raw match in 2008.
Now
my top 3 are all from different promotions. So,
interesting.
Pretty interesting.
Okay.
And again, it's my list. So
let's
go to number 3, Tam. Number 3 happened in 2011, 2012. And it is the return, after more than a decade away from the WWE, it is the return of Bret the Hitman Hart. A time that we never thought would ever happen. Finally putting the Montreal Screwjob to bed. The Montreal Screwjob, the most important moment in the history of professional wrestling, by the way. Bar none.
Okay.
Bret Hart returning to the WWE, shaking Shawn Michaels' hand, and then promptly getting kicked in the dick by Vince McMahon is a very, very significant and important moment. And it's also just good for Bret. He got to put some demons to bed that night. And he got he became U.S. champion. He wrestled on the WWE team against the Nexus. So he got to have some
paydays.
He got some paydays. He got some paydays. And considering he was never cleared to actually hurt anyone, pretty good that he won the U.S. title.
Oh, no, not cleared to ever get hurt.
Get hurt, right?
He's not allowed to take a move.
Right.
He could throw punches and kicks. He just can't fall down. Joe says, I disagree with some of the exclusions on the list, but the WWE heavy list proves one thing. WWE delivers big moments.
Yeah, except the top 2 are from the WWE. So.
Woodsy says Bret Returns was 2010 because that was the first night of the TNA Monday Night War.
Right. Yes.
Very interesting. That's
really
true, Woodsy.
Interesting, Woodsy, too. If you ever get the chance to go back and read Meltzer's breakdown of the ratings from that night, really interesting. Really interesting. 8 million people plus were watching professional wrestling that night.
8 million. Wow, that's the first time in a while. Bret number 3. Very interesting.
Bret's number 3. Now let's move to number 2. Now this one, for all my WCW heads out there, this was a very, very important moment for me. I had just become a wrestling fan 3 or 4 months earlier, but it is the night after Fall Brawl in 1998 when Ric Flair makes his return to the WCW after being sued by Eric Bischoff in real life.
That's a good one.
He would never get to come back. It was this wonderful moment where Arn Anderson and J.J. Dillon come out. They're in suits. They basically reform the Four Horsemen that night. And there's this wonderful moment where before they introduce Ric Flair, they're in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're in Flair's hometown. It's Horseman country. And Arn has the mic and he says something like, well, this is it. This is the Horseman. And then JJ kind of like taps Arn on the shoulder and Arn goes, oh, what a goof. What a goof. Oh, he keeps calling himself a goof. And then he brings out Ric Flair. Rick comes down. He's already crying. He's on the ramp and he's crying. He's so emotional. He's in an excellent suit. Also, if you notice in this picture, this is behind the scenes. You see where the number 2 is located? It's perfectly on Chris Benoit's face. I had never seen anything of Ric Flair's before this. So Flair comes out and he's crying and then he just gets fired up and he's angry and he talks about tradition and he talks about Bischoff and how Bischoff can't get rid of him and how everybody loves him. And then Bischoff comes out and he starts screaming, fire me. I'm already fired. Fire me. And it's such a wonderful moment. It's so, so important. And this might be, don't quote me on this might be the last time that Nitro ever beat Raw in the ratings.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Flair, and I think this is a really good one. I think your last 2 have been really spot on.
Yeah.
I can't say so much for some of the others, but what do I? What's your number
and then
1?
Let's go to number 1.
I think I know what your number 1 is.
It's a controversial decision now. All things considered,
after this episode,
but exactly 1 year.
Yeah.
From the return, the number 1 return in the history of professional wrestling is CM Punk. This is could be a debut, this could be a return, but this is a return to professional wrestling.
Yeah.
He explicitly states it in his promo. This is a return to professional wrestling. And it was an accident. I didn't even mean to because I didn't know. When I made this list, I didn't know this was the 1-year anniversary. But I went back and watched the beginning. Just him entering the ring, before he even talks, I still get chills to this day. It is such a powerful, powerful moment. The reaction from the crowd, the fact that they're in the United Center, which is one of the biggest buildings AEW ever ran, and to think that after all these years, Punk actually came back to professional wrestling, it was huge. It was huge. It was the biggest. It was the biggest return in the history of professional wrestling.
That's very good. Actually, I'm not mad at your top 3 at all.
Those are the 3 that I actually felt strongest about.
Top 3 is, I think they have to stick. Want to hear some ones that I didn't include in there?
Yeah.
I would put so I'm getting rid of Big Show, Undertaker, Goldberg, X-Pac, and ECW. I'll keep Mox and Brock in there. But they're going to the number 10 I would give Cactus Jack in 2000.
Oh, that's a good one. In 2000, not 97.
2000 when he both. I'll add them together. But I'll say Cactus because of that promo is just like, he's like, mankind is not prepared to have a match with you at the Royal Rumble. But I think I know a guy who is. I think you know the guy pretty well.
He's like undressing as it's happening, right? Yeah.
His name is Cactus Jack. Yeah. And he's going to kick your teeth all over the city of Chicago. Boom. Boom. Great. So I put that at number 10.
That's a good one.
I'd keep Moxley. I put Moxley at 9.
Sure.
I put Brock at 8.
Okay.
I put at number 7 Sting in 2016, 2017 at WWE when he showed up at the Survivor Series to help Dolph Ziggler win for Team WWE against the Authority.
Is that a debut?
No, it's a return. We're going with everyone knows they get if they get the big pop because people know who they are. It's a return.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, I agree.
So I put that at number 7. Number 6, I would put John Cena at the Royal Rumble.
That's at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
That was big pop. Yeah.
Number 5, I'd put Triple H returning from his quads.
Here's my thing. I don't know if I'm on board with injury returns. We could make a whole list of top 10 injury returns.
Like Bret Hart?
What are you talking about?
An injury return?
No way. Bret Hart doesn't count.
Bret Hart is an injury return.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about a guy who's gone for 6 months to a year because of an injury. Kurt Angle would be on that list multiple times.
Big Show, Undertaker.
Yeah, that's a whole other. Like John Cena could be on that list.
Moxley, technically.
All these people who came back for the Royal Rumble after getting hurt in the middle.
No,
of
but I'm
last
saying
year,
they're top. Like I'm not. But Kurt Angle never had that kind of pop. I'm talking about like Cena and Triple H. That place lost it.
Sure. I'm not disputing. I'm just saying. But like a good example. This is in the chat. I'm gonna read this. Woodsy the Beast says, the fact that Edge's Rumble return wasn't even mentioned is a crime. That is a good example of not so much an injury return. Like, that's like your career's over forever, and you're never going to come back. Oops, I'm able to wrestle again. That should have been on this list. That is an omission. That, to me, beats Triple H and Cody.
I'm looking for the moment, though. I'm looking for the comeback moment. I'm not saying necessarily, like, Edge coming back is cool, but his moment of coming back was kind of predictable. Everyone kind of knew he was coming back for that Rumble.
But you want to talk about a pop, though?
Yeah, that was. I think that the Triple H Cena's drowned that out in comparison. Hassan writes, Bret the Hitman Hart, damn straight. Joe writes, also, where's Shawn Michaels' return? That was big and changed the main event scene in WWE for years.
Wasn't a moment.
Wasn't a moment. I don't think Edge's was.
It was
really
a gradual return too. Like he was in the NWO, and then he had the thing. It was like a gradual return.
And Joe agrees with you on Edge, but it got leaked a little bit the week before. But like, that's why I think it lessened. No one knew Triple H was going to be coming back for that. No one knew Cena was going to be there. I remember
the Cena thing, sure, but Triple H, they advertised that Triple H was coming back. It wasn't like a big. I mean, ended up being a big moment, but they advertised it. It was exciting, sure.
And my number 4 in replace of your ECW one night stand
is the Sandman returning to ECW specifically.
Cody Rhodes.
Sure.
Cody Rhodes and all his AEW regalia.
Yeah.
That was pretty special. That was special.
That was absolutely special. Should have been on the list. I didn't think of a lot of things from this year with the exception of Moxley and Rehab.
Well, I like the idea of us doing great job, Roy. Everyone give Roy an excellent job for what a honest and thoughtful thing. Where's the kids screaming?
We'll do stables. However, there's a stipulation to stables.
What do you mean?
We can do the top 10 stables, but the NWO and DX are omitted from it.
Let's get rid of the 4 Horsemen, too.
Okay, fine. I'll get rid of the 4 Horsemen. Somebody's got to be number 1, though.
The top 10 stables that aren't the DX, NWO, or 4 Horsemen. That's it.
That's okay.
That's actually funny.
How do you define a stable? How many people need to be in it for it to be a stable? 3?
3.
Or more? 3. Okay, great.
3, because like the New Day are going to be on this list.
Do you consider them a stable? Just like the Freebirds, you consider the Freebirds a stable?
Yeah. Stable faction, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, there's 2 of them right there.
Well, we don't know who is going to be a number 1. Who's going to battle it out? Yeah. But those 3 teams are not allowed on the list.
Yeah.
They've won enough.
The ones that everybody talks about.
They've won enough. Right, Roy?
Why isn't... Well, yeah, they've won enough. I think Bullet Club should be allowed.
What's that?
Woodsy wrote Bullet Club isn't allowed either.
Yeah, Bullet Club's allowed. They're number 9. Bye.
They'll be in the top 10. Shit. They'll be there.
They might be. Who knows?
The early versions.
Joe writes, and Daniel Bryan's WWE return should have been there. Honestly, because I don't really remember his specific return. You know, like when he returned from his concussion stuff and he had that match, but it was a tag team with against the Miz, you know?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It was him and Shane, I think, versus Owens and
Sami Zayn. And they could have done it great. It could have been on the list, but it just wasn't that big of a deal for me.
It didn't end up being that big of a deal, but that's a good one.
We have one more segment for the day, Roy.
Yeah, Hall of Fame.
It's the Hall of Fame. Roy, do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll go first. Yeah, you got to induct him. You got to induct him because he's worked so hard and he deserves it. I am inducting into this week's Hall of Fame the Bionic, the one and only Kenneth Omega. He's back, baby. We didn't talk about that. It's a bit of a crime that we didn't talk more about Kenny Omega being back. He's back, and I'm thrilled. I'm excited.
I appreciate because you miss your Kenny, and he is back, and hopefully, like he's still healthy and all those things. Very interesting. You inducted him into the Hall of Fame. I will say that he's never really gotten the shine he deserves.
Sure.
Never really gotten the shine he deserves. And honestly, he's been kind of forgotten every single step of the way. But this week, with the help of a friend, he was brought into the light where everyone's just like, you're one of us. He's one of us. Bryan Danielson said that to him.
Oh.
I'm inducting to the Hall of Fame, the LLW HOF 82022, Daniel Garcia.
All right.
Daniel Garcia and Kenny Omega, welcome to the LLW Hall of Fame.
Great job.
Wow.
You guys deserve it.
Great job, Roy. Great job with the top 10. Did excellent work. And give it up for Tammy Kaboom in
the tech booth.
Great stuff from Tammy Kaboom. Let's all jump into the Discord whenever you're free. Email us at loserleaspod@gmail.com. We'll get that set up for you. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, jeez.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
We'll see you on Wednesday. Everyone have a good week. And everyone think happy thoughts about Triple H. Bye, everyone. Bye. 5, 4, 3, 2.